Now, I like a good car as much as the next petrol head, maybe even a bit more, but there's something about seeing a multi-million-dollar work of art, a symphony of screaming carbon fiber and finely tuned engineering, reduced to a mangled heap of scrap that just makes you want to weep. Buckle up, because today we're diving into the most dangerous accidents involving some of the world's most expensive cars. These aren't your average fender benders. These are the kind of crashes that make insurance companies break out in a cold sweat. Picture this: Switzerland, land of pristine lakes and even more pristine supercars. Our unfortunate protagonist is behind the wheel of a Bugatti Veyron, a car that's less a mode of transportation and more of a ground-based missile with leather seats. Now, what they say about power being nothing without control, yeah, that's about to become painfully clear. It's a bright, sunny day, perfect for a leisurely cruise along the edge of Lake Geneva. You can almost taste the fondue and hear the gentle ticking of a Patek Philippe. But this idyllic scene is about to become a high-octane nightmare. Our driver, perhaps feeling a tad overconfident, gives the Veyron a bit too much welly. The engine, all 16 cylinders of it, roars its approval, or maybe that's disapproval. Hard to tell with those things. The car, with more horsepower than sense, decides to take a dip in the lake. Not a graceful swan dive, mind you, but more of a belly flop performed by a rhinoceros. The result, let's just say the insurance company isn't smiling. Millions of dollars worth of bleeding-edge technology now taking on water faster than a politician in a scandal. Next up, we're off to the sunny shores of Malibu, California. Land of sunshine, surfing, and apparently incredibly expensive car crashes. This time, it's a Ferrari Enzo that's about to become a very expensive pile of spare parts. Now, the Enzo is a legend, a road-going expression of Ferrari's Formula One dominance. It's the kind of car that makes grown men weep with joy and small children cover their ears in terror. But on this particular day, the only thing this Enzo would be terrorizing is its insurance adjuster. You see, our driver, in a move that can only be described as ill-advised, decided to engage in a high-speed duel with a certain someone who may or may not have been wearing a badge. The chase was on. A blur of screaming engines and illegal lane changes. The Enzo, living up to its prancing horse badge, was pushing the limits of physics and good sense. But even a thoroughbred can stumble. As the Enzo approached a particularly nasty bend, it became abundantly clear that physics was about to deliver a harsh lesson in momentum. The car, traveling at a speed that would make your grandma say, "slow down," lost its grip on the road. And, well, let's just say the word crumple zone doesn't really apply when you're dealing with a car this stiff. The result was about as pretty as a Picasso after a trip through a blender. The Enzo, once a gleaming testament to Italian automotive artistry, was now two very expensive halves. From the sun-drenched tarmac of Malibu, we journey to the land of Kiwis, sheep, and surprisingly fast drivers, New Zealand. Now, New Zealand might be known for its stunning scenery and laid-back attitude, but the roads can be just as challenging as any racetrack. And on this particular day, those roads would claim a victim as rare as it was expensive: a McLaren F1. The McLaren F1, for those who haven't been within spitting distance of its greatness, is a legend among legends. It's the kind of car that redefines what's possible on four wheels, a symphony of carbon fiber, titanium, and a gold-lined engine bay. Only 106 were ever made, which makes crashing one a bit like punching a baby panda in the face. You just don't do it. But alas, fate, as it often does, had other plans. Our driver, perhaps inspired by the local sheep, decided to take the F1 for a bit of a spirited run through the New Zealand countryside. Now, I'm all for a bit of spirited driving, but there's a fine line between spirited and suicidal. And on this day, that line was crossed with the subtlety of a runaway freight train. Whether it was a patch of gravel, an errant sheep, or simply a case of over-enthusiasm, the F1 found itself engaging in an unplanned tango with a rather unforgiving ditch. The result? Well, imagine a Fabergé egg being used as a rugby ball. The F1, once a pristine example of automotive perfection, was now a twisted wreck, its million-dollar body panels scattered across the countryside like confetti after a particularly wild wedding. Buckle up, petrolheads, because we're heading to the neon-drenched streets of Hong Kong, where the air is thick with humidity and the smell of money. And speaking of money, let's talk about the Pagani Zonda. A car so rare, so exclusive, it makes a Fabergé egg look as common as a Toyota Corolla. Now, the Zonda is the brainchild of Horacio Pagani, a man who clearly sold his soul to the devil for the ability to build cars that look like they were styled by the wind itself. It's a symphony of curves, scoops, and that signature central exhaust that looks like it could suck up small children and turn them into horsepower. But even a car as exquisitely crafted as the Zonda isn't immune to the laws of physics, or the perils of driving in a city where everyone seems to be late for a very important meeting. Our driver, no doubt feeling the pressure of piloting a multi-million-dollar work of art through the crowded streets, found himself in a bit of a pickle. Now, details are sketchy, as they often are when you're dealing with a car this exclusive, but it seems our Zonda decided to engage in an impromptu game of bumper cars with a rather substantial concrete barrier. The result? Well, imagine a priceless Ming vase being dropped down a flight of stairs. The Zonda, once a gleaming testament to Italian craftsmanship, was now a crumpled mess, its carbon fiber bodywork looking like it had been attacked by a particularly angry bear with a taste for expensive automotive snacks. Hold on to your hats, ladies and gents, because we're off to Dubai. The land of skyscrapers that pierce the clouds, man-made islands shaped like palm trees, and enough wealth to make a small nation blush. And what better place to find a Lamborghini Aventador, a car that's less a mode of transportation and more of a rolling symbol of "I've arrived and you haven't." The Aventador, with its sharp-angle scissor doors and a V12 engine that sounds like the wreath of Zeus himself, is designed to attract attention. It's the kind of car that makes people stop and stare, whether in awe or envy, it doesn't really matter. But all that attention can be a double-edged sword, especially when you're driving in a city where the police force boasts more supercars than most countries. Our driver, perhaps caught up in the glitz and glamour of it all, decided to unleash the Aventador's full fury on the open road. Now, I'm all for a bit of spirited driving, but there's a time and a place for everything, and that place is not a crowded highway with a speed limit that's more of a suggestion than a rule. Whether it was a patch of sand, a sudden case of camel-induced panic, or simply a heavy right foot, the Aventador found itself engaging in a rather intimate embrace with a rather unforgiving lamppost. The result? Well, imagine a diamond-encrusted Rolex being used as a hammer. The Aventador, once a gleaming testament to Italian automotive excess, was now a crumpled heap of carbon fiber and shattered dreams. So there you have it. A collection of automotive calamities that would make even the most hardened insurance adjuster reach for the antacids. Seeing these incredible machines reduced to mangled heaps of metal and carbon fiber is a stark reminder that no matter how much money you throw at a car, the laws of physics always apply. Remember, no matter how expensive or powerful your car is, safety always comes first. Drive responsibly, because the only thing worse than totaling your own supercar is explaining to your insurance company how it happened, and trust me, those conversations never go well.